What's going on, guys? K-Pine here and welcome back. And in this video I'll be featuring battles in the Holiday Cup. Gotta be honest, I was struggling a little bit trying to find a team that worked, but then I wanted to test out Skarmory, so I gave this one a go, and boy did it not disappoint, even going so far as to take me into the 2600s and earning a spot on the global leaderboards. Lanturn on the lead, double on the save swap, and Skarm in the back. The Steel Wing buff to Skarm really did it wonders, and the scary thing is, it's not terrible even if it gets locked up against an opposing Lanturn, because they have to throw energy at some point, unlike, say, something like a Pelipper, where they could just farm you all the way down. And if your opponent does get greedy and try to farm you all the way down, you'll be able to make 2 Brave Birds, which bring the bulky fish into the red. And with that, let's get right into the battles. Alright, getting to the first battle, we lead Lanturn into Altaria. This is a pretty neutral lead, but we are going to stay in and play out the Zero Shield. If they do decide to go for a Moonblast off the start, they will just barely be able to win the Zero Shield here, because I won't be able to survive that and make it to another Thunderbolt. But I will be able to hold on, get to a Surf for some nice chip damage, which you'll see my opponent does go for the Moonblast. I'm able to get to the Surf. I try and see if I can make it to the Thunderbolt, just not able to. So I will cash out on the Surf and then come in and double kick down with the double to get ahead on energy. And they have a Skarmory in the back, so I can go for the payback right away. Going for it right away is also good timing, as a 3-turn move versus a 2-turn move, you want to throw after 1, 3, or 5 iterations of your fast move. So I am going to land that payback, swap into my Skarmory to catch their own move, and they have a Shadow Alolan Sandslash in the back. They do get to hit us for neutral with the Ice Punches, so this is a very doable match. Our charge moves here are resisted, but the Steel Wings are starting to add up over time due to that Steel and Ice typing making that neutral. So I'm going to go for the Sky Attack off the start. That does get a shield, and here, you know what? I was going to make another Sky Attack, but if my opponent's going to waste energy and throw right there, that's okay, I'll let it go. Shield once, farm this A-Slash all the way down, and leave with a ton of energy. I have over payback stored, so at this point, for my opponent, their only win condition is calling a Body Slam bait. So I have no reason to bait. I'm going to go straight for the payback. Payback does land, and my opponent concedes the match. GG's. Next battle, we lead Lanturn into Gligar. Pretty bad lead for us, so we are going to swap into our double right away. Seems like my opponent may have lagged just a little bit off the start, but they do catch up some, and they end up firing off a Night Slash instead of Aerial Ace. So they're potentially on Aerial Ace Dig, or this is a Purified Sableye, so it could be the OG Gligar of Night Slash and a Return. So I'm going to throw one more double kick, fire off this Body Slam. Another one right there. Another move coming through from my opponent. And it is a dig. So no, it is a Night Slash dig. Gligar. You'll see I do end up lagging a little bit as there. So my opponent should have only gotten 2 wing attacks, but they end up getting 3 because of that lag. So we're right back to even based off the lag my opponent got off the start. And we are just barely able to reach one last Body Slam as the opposing Gligar goes down. So we're able to get switch advantage and shield advantage in this matchup, which ends up being huge because we now get to align our Skarmory to this Shadow Alolan Sandslash that is in the back, so our Lanturn does not have to see it. My opponent's down a shield. I'm not baiting. I'm going straight for the Brave Bird. Brave Bird does land, but they survive on 1 HP, so we swap into our Lanturn, catch the Ice Punch, and my opponent has an Arctibax in the back. And here, at this point, this game is over, because all I need to do is get some chip damage with the Lanturn, which I do with that Thunderbolt landing right there, and Skarmory with its buffed fast move of Steel Wing will be able to close it out. Steel Wing is now a clone of the fast move of Poison Jab, so pretty good damage wise and not too bad energy wise either. I will shoot up to Respect and Avalanche. My opponent ends up baiting with the Dragon Claw, but that is not going to make any difference since they won't make another move. GG's to my opponent. Alright, into next battle, we lead Lanturn into Shadow Abomasnow. This is absolutely terrible. So we're going to swap into our double, and they meet it with the Shadow Dragonite. I build up to a potential Wild Charge just because I want to get this move off before they do. Go for the Body Slam, but my opponent calls the Body Slam. Nice call by them. And now it's my turn to make a call in return. They can go for the Superpower or Dragon Claw. They go for the Dragon Claw, and now that allows me to get shield advantage in this matchup, of which double is extremely good at doing. So now I'm going to send back in my Lanturn. Don't quite get the spark down of the Dragonite before they're able to reach a superpower, but that is okay because we take that superpower. Now swap into our Skarm when the Shadow Abomasnow comes back in, and it's a Bubble Jellicent in the back. A lot of Jellicents in this cup are running Bubble as opposed to Hex, just so they have a better matchup against Vigoroth, which is absolutely everywhere. But in this matchup, this is going to be a very hard one to come back from, but we're going to see what we can do, making sure we're always throwing on good timing. As a 2-turn move user against a 3-turn, it's going to be after 1, 4, or 7 iterations. My opponent's just barely able to tank that sky attack and reach even yet another Surf. See, and now at this point, this game is pretty much over. I do, however, make a nice catch onto the Lanturn, so maybe potentially able to keep in it. But here, honestly, I go for the Surf because I'm like, hey, if I go for double Surfs, then I might be able to force a shield from my opponent. But honestly, even if they do, Abomasnow wins CMP over Skarmory, so my win condition there was going straight for the Thunderbolt and then going for fast move pressure. So my opponent potentially could have let me win the match if I just played out my win con, but I did not, and they take that one. Well played to them. GG's. Next battle, Wigglytuff Lead. I do have 2 better answers for it in the back, plus double is good at baiting out potentially Lanturns that my Skarmory doesn't want to see. So I'll bring in my double, fire off that Body Slam right away. I do end up playing to the CMP tie to my opponent's Icy Wind, which is unfortunate. It would have been nice to get this move off before that debuff, but that is okay. So my opponent's then going to swap out, and here they go. Double baiting out that Lanturn. And now we're going to be firing off another Body Slam. And here I'm going to see if I can make it to the payback, but the threat of a payback does force energy from my opponent, which is perfectly fine by me. So now I can then bring in my Spark Lanturn against their Water Gun Lanturn, of which I have the much better matchup for. I am down a shield, but we will see how this plays out as that Thunderbolt lands. And with that Thunderbolt landing, I should be in a pretty good position here, since the hardest counter to Skarmory is out of the way, other than, say, a Jellicent. But now they bring in an Arctibax, and my opponent with a Wigglytuff Lead is ABA weak to Skarmory. And Skarmory is just going to have an absolute field day closing this one out. I am out of shields, so I am forced to take that move. And here, I didn't even bother throwing, just because I didn't want to give the opposing Wigglytuff more farm. So what I do is I'm just committing to fast move pressure, because they're in the red, and the Spark should be able to do it. But I am over 2 moves here, and looking at my energy count, I should be able to reach 3 Surfs before a potential Spark down. So I end up going for the moves instead of the strict fast move pressure there, as my opponent concedes the match. Next battle, we lead Lanturn into Skarmory. Absolute dream lead for us, and my opponent save swaps into a Vigoroth. Here, I make a little bit of a misplay. If your opponent, when they save swap into the Vig, let you get off the Surf first, chip with the Surf, and then bring in your Skarm, because the Skarm's much better at soaking the energy. If your opponent save swaps into Vig, and then throws a Body Slam before you get off your Surf, tank that Body Slam, throw your Surf right away, and then come in with double. A lot of Vig save swaps are looking to bait out that Skarmory. So if they waste energy on your Lanturn, then you can bring in double, because double will be safe to make to get switch. But if they don't waste energy on your Lanturn, as you'll see here, I get shield advantage, but I lose switch. So that's why, again, they don't throw energy on your Lanturn, bring in your Skarm to soak it. But it ends up being fine here, just because with a Skarmory Lead, my own Skarm in the back isn't a bad matchup against it. So it ends up working out either way, as I could go for that Brave Bird and then dip into my own Lanturn, as they have that Dunsparce. Lanturn is able to tank one drill run here. So I'm going to throw off a Surf, one more Spark for another Surf. And this is very, very good chip damage against my opponent. So much so that it ends up getting their final shield. And here, that's perfectly fine by me. I can put it all onto my own Skarmory at this point. As here, I can just try and commit to a Steel Wing down. I will shield this up, as Rock Slide will do more than a Sky Attack from my opponent. And potentially a Brave Bird. Brave Bird's a pretty hard move, even though it's resisted. I think Brave Bird might do a little bit more than a Rock Slide from Dunsparce. You can correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. But either way, we will shield up that one Rock Slide. I let this move go just because I'm expecting them to go for the Sky Attack first, as they don't want to debuff their defense. And I will shield the second move as I need to at this point. And here, I'm just going to commit to the Steel Wing down, leave with a move for the Dunsparce, and my opponent concedes the match. GG's. Next battle, Lanturn Lead. So what I like to do in this one is just throw the Thunderbolt right away. Lanturn Leads never swap out to catch, right? But I like to throw it right away just in case my opponent does. I like to see who wins CMP tie. If I win CMP tie, I will shield their first Thunderbolt. If I lose CMP tie, I will let their first Thunderbolt go. Because if I win CMP tie, they'll generally let the first Thunderbolt go. That gives me a free shield against their Thunderbolt. And if I lose CMP tie, I shield their Thunderbolt. They may be more inclined to shield mine. So again, I win CMP, I will shield their first Thunderbolt. I lose CMP, I will over farm on the second CMP tie situation, where I'd then shield that and go for the Surf. A little confusing there, but it ends up best for energy maximization. And here in this matchup, my opponent makes a very nice catch onto their Skarmory with that Body Slam. Should have been a little more patient. That is on me. But we still are able to overfarm, make it to the payback, which is some nice damage onto their Skarm. And here I do go for the Body Slam right after they go for the Sky Attack, so we're not able to get off that extra chip damage. But that's fine, as I can bring in my Lanturn here to Spark down. And I'm going to throw one Spark and then catch which was hopefully a dig onto my Skarm, but either way, a dig or an Aeolace, Skarmory tanks that no problem. My opponent is going to go for the dig here. I will shield that up. And now, since they have two shields, I'm just going to Steel Wing all the way down. GG's to my opponent. Next battle, we lead Lanturn into the mirror again. So we know how to play this one out. If it was a little confusing the way I explained it the first time around, we're going to give a good turn at it again here. So I do go for the Thunderbolt right away. If my opponent plays to the CMP tie and I win that CMP tie, my Thunderbolt will land. I will shield up their Thunderbolt. If my opponent plays to the CMP tie and I lose that CMP tie, I will let their Thunderbolt go through, so they're more inclined to let my Thunderbolt go through. And then on what would be the second CMP tie, instead of playing to it, I will overfarm, shield their Thunderbolt, gain extra energy, and then take them out. In this matchup, my opponent makes a very nice catch of that Thunderbolt onto their Gligar. But that's all right. I have a good answer to the Gligar in my Skarmory. Again, that's a little risk of playing to the CMP tie in that first matchup, but honestly, it generally ends up working out more than not, since Lanturn players don't really like to swap out of the mirror that often. Back in comes their own Lanturn. I do try and go for the Brave Bird, but I accidentally tap the Sky Attack. And it ends up working out in my favor because they give up a shield. And now I'm going to hard swap back into my own Lanturn to save my Skarm for later. And they have a Chestnut. So now this is going to be tough. I'm over farming, going for the Thunderbolt here. I'm expecting my opponent to go for the Vine Whip down, which they are. So I end up committing to the Thunderbolt instead of cashing out on the Surf. That does some nice damage, and now the Chestnut is into the red. And now here, I'm just going to leave it up to my double. They have to go for the superpower to take me out, which they do. And now they're at another superpower against my double, which I will shield, just because this will do more than anything the Lanturn can throw. And they end up swapping out. But the important thing here is that they still have a shield. So if I throw this Body Slam to take them out, their Chestnut will most likely reach another superpower in time. So I have to commit to a double kick down. Hopefully I can survive just long enough, but I'm at 1 HP, and as you see there, the Vine Whip goes down. So even though I have the back-to-back moves, my double is just not able to hang on, and my opponent takes that match. GG's. Next battle, we lead Lanturn into Shadow Dragonite. And Shadow Dragonite lead, if they go straight for Dragon Claws, which they normally do, you're able to actually win the one shield scenario going straight Surf. So I let the first move go, since it would be the Dragon Claw, and I go for the Surf right here. If my opponent shields this, I will be able to reach another Surf and win the one shield. But if they let it go, which they do, I can just Spark down, win switch advantage, and able to reach a Thunderbolt worth of chip against their own Lanturn. And that's perfect because now I have switch advantage. I can put my double onto this Lanturn so my Skarmory does not have to see it. The problem with a Dragon Lead like that though is the backlines tend to be strong against Skarmory. But the good news is my Skarmory's not on the Lanturn, so it can put in work, especially with those Brave Birds. And they end up having their own Skarm, which they catch a Body Slam on again. Again, I got to be a little more patient with the double Body Slam spam, as that's happened twice now in this situation. So I'm going to load up energy, guarantee that shield with the payback, and now swap into my own Skarm to soak up this energy from their Skarm. They're going to go for a Sky Attack. That is no problem. And now I'm going to load up on even more energy. Let this move go. It's another Sky Attack, and now I'm going to go for a Sky Attack of my own. This isn't quite Brave Bird range yet, so I didn't want to risk my opponent surviving on very low HP. And now they're going to bring in a Lanturn, and I actually shielded this up because I need my Skarm around to potentially soak energy from their Skarm, and I'm out of Brave Bird, which reduced some massive damage to their Lanturn. So I shield out that Surf, fire off the Brave Bird, swap into my double, get off that Body Slam, and now my opponent's gonna have to throw energy here. They cannot take out my double. So they do throw energy, but I get a little too worried, right? I'm like, I'm not sure if my Skarmory can take those sparks as well as take out their own Skarmory. So I will shield up that move, get that Body Slam's worth of chip off, and then Steel Wing down that Skarmory. Plus that double kick went through either, so it took out the Lanturn. So GG's to my opponent. Next battle, another Shadow Abomasnow lead, and now we're looking for some revenge. Loading up on energy, my opponent throws on perfect timing. I will be able to tank that Weather Ball, and now they send in Lanturn. Like I said, the double save swap does really good job at baiting out the Lanturn for the Lanturns. So we're gonna throw, making sure we're throwing on good time in here. I don't throw right away, even though I knew they would outpace, because I did plan on shielding up that Surf just because I had so much energy anyways. So one double kick, then a Body Slam. One more double kick, then another Body Slam. And double is putting in absolute work against that Lanturn. So much so that it ends up getting a shield from them, and they have to fire off another Surf to take me out. Otherwise, I would have reached another Body Slam. Now I can bring up my own Lanturn here. And I'm just going for the Spark Down. I am going to have to take a Thunderbolt, but a Thunderbolt is going to do significantly less than a potential Energy Ball from the Abomasnow. So I'm going to trade HP for Energy since they don't have any fast move pressure. And now I'm just going to start chipping away. As it is a Shadow Abomasnow, that these surfs will add up over time. First surf lands, swap into my Skarmory to get some damage, and they have a Bubble Jellicent in the back. So far we are getting hard countered, but we will see what we can do. Sky Attack's able to land, brings their Jelly into the yellow. And at this point, I know my Skarmory can survive this surf, so I'm going to let it go. Fire off this Brave Bird. I do go for Sky Attack here, actually. And the reason why is because I'm looking for more energy on my Lanturn. So I stop tapping, let them take me out, get 2 extra sparks worth of energy, and then from here I should be able to outpace 2 surfs before they Weather Ball bait and make it to an energy ball. So despite hard countered on the lead, somewhat neutral on the swap, but still a negative matchup, and hard countered in the back, we are able to take this one. GG's to my opponent. Next battle, we lead Lanturn into Dunsparce. So somewhat negative matchup for us, so we are going to safe swap into our double. And here, I should have thrown right away, right? This is something where switching takes a turn, and if I throw right away, I offset that 1 turn desync. So we're back on even energy. Instead of letting my opponent throw first, they're able to deny a full body kick, double kick. So now my opponent is going to save swap into a Sableye. They will shield up that first payback, but that is fine because I'm not going to get Shadow Claw down before I will reach another payback. So payback coming through right here does do pretty big damage to the Sableye, and my opponent ends up throwing energy. I'm not sure if they could have gotten a Shadow Claw farm down there in time, but they throw energy, so that works perfectly for me as I can now Spark down with the Lanturn. And again, Drill Run's going to do more damage than a Foul Play, so I'm trading health right here for energy. So 1 surf and then the Thunderbolt. My opponent is down 2 shields to 1, so I'm not expecting them to shield this, so I do go for the harder hitting move. Then I swap on what would be the CMP tie, and do I catch the Drill Run on the Skarmory? I do. Waste that energy, and in the back they have a Skeledirge. So Skeledirge is going to put in absolute work against my Skarm, but the good news is I can force a shield with this Brave Bird. Skeledirge does leave with 100 energy, but I'm up 2 shields to 0, and we'll see what I can do. I do go for the extra spark here, knowing that Lanturn loses the CMP tie, and that they would most likely be throwing right away. So I get that extra spark, throw 2 more sparks, then the surf for good timing, and my opponent lets that go. If they threw back to back, I would have just shielded and then built up to the double surfs to take out both the Dunsparce and the Dirge, but since they overfarmed there, it pretty much solidified that matchup for me. GG's to my opponent. Sorry for the little late of an upload, since I do know the Holiday Cup will be leaving in a couple days, but based on how this team did for me, I needed to get a video out there for you all. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate you. If you enjoyed it, please drop a like, subscribe, and comment down below. Love to hear what you have to say, and with that, I'll catch you in the next one.